Well, hello everyone. Just before I get into this week's racing and looking at the wagon wheel selections, I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about why I use Betfair and why I think it really is the only place to bet on the horses. That's if you're trying to bet for the win or the place. I do know, of course, that the corporate bookmakers offer you all sorts of options, trifectas and quinellas and trebles, quaddies and the like. But if you're just interested in betting on a horse to win or place, then there's no other place to bet, I think, than Betfair. Let me explain a little bit about Betfair before we go any further. Now, Betfair is a betting exchange where you're betting against another enthusiast, if you like, and Betfair takes a commission for organising that bet. So it'd be a case of if I like a horse, I back it, and then someone else doesn't like it and they lay that horse. And the Betfair commissions, if we're looking here at thoroughbred racing, across, there we go, South Australia, the commission is only 5%. In Queensland, Tasmania, Victoria, Western Australia, ACT, Northern Territory, it's 7%. And in New South Wales, it's 10%. So you might say, wow, 10% is a pretty big commission to be taking out of your winnings, because that's what the commission is taken out of. But if we actually have a look at the numbers, it's not really all that bad. Now, I'm just going to use some of the bets I had last weekend. I've got highlighted here Innkeeper, which I backed for a win. I got $120 about it on Betfair. You called it. I got $620. Junipal eventually closed at $3.65, so I had a bit of extra bet on that one. And then Duchess, that horse that I said had no hope of winning, but the wagon wheel threw it up as the second pick. I did back it, had $5 on it at $19, and it duly ran last, showing that really when a horse is going up in class, if that up in class is a big jump, then it's got problems. And in the case last week, TAB were suggesting it was actually down in class, and I did discuss why I thought that was a problem. But anyway, let's have a look at what the numbers tell us about these particular bets. Well, if Innkeeper had won, the commission taken out by Betfair would have been $8.40, and so my adjusted price would have been $112.60 over here, having trouble with the mouse. Compare that with the starting price, $61. That's at TAB. Way better off on Betfair. You called it, as it turns out. And I wish the mouse button would work properly, but there we go. Better price on the TAB, you've got to say. Junipal, take out the commission, still got $3.46 would have been my payout rather than $3.20 on the tab. And Duchess, $17.74, marginally better on Betfair than over on the TAB. At the starting price now, during the middle of the week before last and then this last week just gone, did have a couple of successful bets, Riddlero and Regina, both around about the $6 mark. By the time Betfair had taken their commission out, they were still well in front of the starting price as it appeared on the TAB. And these prices were pretty much at the time that I bet, because I try to wait until about a minute before the start of the race before I put my bets on. And so therefore there is a significant difference between betting on Betfair and betting on the TAB. Now, the TAB's prices, generally speaking, are not all that brilliant. Some of the other corporate bookmakers are better. But just as an example, I just sort of cranked up tonight the prices on Betfair. This is on the Gloucester Park Trots. I didn't have a bet in the race. In fact, I don't bet on the Trots. But this was right just before the start of the race. And you'll notice that these odds here, the back odds, came to a total of 101.5%. In other words, barely above that 100% mark. And here are the prices that were available right at the end from the TAB. And when you look at them and compare them, you'll see that even once you've allowed for the commission to be taken out of your bet, then the overall percentage would have been at Betfair only 105.66%, but at the TAB the percentage is 121.5%. That's 16% differential. Now, if you're betting on the TAB, that is a massive disadvantage for you, because you're just always going to be taking unders compared to the prices you can get at Betfair. Now, to be fair, okay, fair. Sometimes if you want to put on a very big amount of money, if you want to put on a large bet, then Betfair may be a bit of a problem for you, and you might be able to get it on with the corporate bookmakers. But for someone like me who's betting in like 10s, 20s, maybe every now and then $30, something like that, you're going to have a much greater chance of getting in front by betting on Betfair, I think, than betting with any of the corporate bookmakers. And of course, you know how much I don't like the corporate bookmakers because most of them have banned me from betting on sports because of my approach with arbitrage betting. Not that you can do it much anymore anyway. But there you go. I don't have a great love for corporate bookmakers and the way they treat their clients. Anyway, let's move on to having a look at the wagon. And I just want to talk about the numbers behind my reason for changing a couple of the entries for the wagon wheel. Now, just to do this over a period of a few weeks, and let's just have a look today at what I've done with the relationship between the favourites. Now, courtesy of my brother, who, as I said last week, has downloaded information from all of 2020. I think he's also got 2021. I might see if I can get that information from him as well. If a race has 6 runners in it, then clearly the race is going to be won by one of favourites 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. In other words, you've got the whole race covered here at 100%, and the mouse is continuing to misbehave itself. But 40% of the races with 6 runners are won by the favourite, 24% by the second favourite, and so on. If you go to 7 runners, then suddenly the percentages for the favourite start to fall down. And I'm just going to leave you to look through and reflect on this, but you see that even when you get up to quite a large field, like 13, 14, 15 or 16 runners, the favourite still ends up winning, around about 30 to 33% of the races. What is interesting, though, is that these figures actually turn out to be reasonably consistent. It's not like the percentages change that much as the number of runners goes up. If we're looking here at the second favourite, once you start getting up into a reasonable sized field with 8 or 9 runners, 21, 21, 19, 18, 19, 19, 16, 17, then it drops to 14. These along here are around the 12, 13, 14 mark. So they're pretty consistent. So what I've done over here is I've just taken the average of all of these and said, well, look, if you're just going to look in general terms at favourites, then the favourites on average will win about 1/3 of the races here. And the second favourites 19.5%, third favourites, and so on. And so therefore, as I was saying last week, I'm just not thinking there's much reason to be looking outside the top 6 favourites if you're going to be having a bet in the race. The number of times that something outside of that wins, particularly when you're looking up here at races with 10, 11 or 12 runners, outside of those top 6, one time in 10 you're going to be right. 9 times in 10 it's going to be a challenge to try and find a winner out of that bunch. Whether it makes sense or not, but anyway, moving on. So what I've done is I've adjusted these, remembering that the wagon wheel had 10 points for the favourite, then it had 9 points for the second favourite. Well, I'm changing that to 5.8. And then it had 8 points for the third favourite. I'm changing that to 4. And so these numbers here you'll see appearing in pretty much the back engine of the spreadsheet when you look at it. And so here we are for the races for today, that's Saturday. We're racing at Hawkesbury and also at Sandown with our quadrella legs. And you can see the adjusted price rankings here. Favourite getting 10, and the second ranked horse here, which is I Am Lethal, gets 5.8. The third ranked horse gets 4, and the fourth ranked horse gets 2.9. And there are 2 horses equally rated at 5, and they get 2 points. And so those numbers there appear over here in this little table where I'm using a VLOOKUP statement, as you can see up here, a VLOOKUP. Let's do it for this one. There we go. The adjusted price ranking, it says if M3, that's the price rank, if it's less than 7, so in other words, I'm only going to be interested in favourites 1 through to 6, VLOOKUP, find M3, find price rank 1 over here in this little table. There it is, price rank 1. Come to the second row column. There we go, second. And if it's exactly equal to 1, then put that number in. That's 10. That's how a VLOOKUP statement works. If it's not, make it blank. And so this little table in here is what I'm using to generate these adjusted price rankings. Now, next week I'll come on and talk a little bit more about the barrier rankings, and then we'll also do some discussion on what I've done with the form and the TAB number over time. But just going through the races for Saturday, the first race that does seem like Mr. Mozart is a standout, but currently the price is not a favourable price, and so therefore at the moment not betting on that one. In race 8, we're coming up with a nice bet here. The Wagon Wheel picks Wunderbar at a price of $3.84. We can get $6.50 at the moment. Race 9, another nice bet. Wagon is picking Kerwin's Lane. We can get $6 about that one. And race 10, the top pick is Norwegian Bliss, but unfortunately the price is too poor. There is a value bet, but I'm not betting on those. I'm just looking at the top selections at the moment. Moving over to Sandown, race number 6, I beg your pardon. Top pick is Zorro's Dream. We can get on that just at the moment at $4. Race 7, the favourite, or the top pick, should I say, Belle Sauveur, at the moment is unders. Race 8. Moving on there, we've got a nice bet here. Excelida is priced at $2.62 according to the Wagon, and I'll talk a bit also about how I've worked out these prices. And currently its price available is $7. That's very nice. And the last race, Eagles Crag, again is in overs. And so therefore we're going to have a few more bets this week, at least as the prices stand at the moment. And last week I introduced the idea of a new sort of strategy, I guess, betting just mainly for only for the place really, finding horses that have had at least 4 race starts and have never been unplaced. I'm just adding into that the additional proviso that you've got to get a decent price about these things. You know, backing a horse for a place at $1.10 or $1.15, something like that, is probably a recipe for a disaster. So, I've sort of taken a look at what's been going on, and I think if we set $1.70 as the minimum price for a place, you're probably going to be okay. And certainly if you do that at the moment, the strategy is in positive territory. Although I do have to say that last Saturday it didn't perform very well, and a couple of the horses really floundered in the going, and I just wonder whether we should just avoid taking the money out of the wallet if the tracks are super heavy. Now, I do know that one of my viewers, PG, he knows who he is. I'm pretty sure he definitely doesn't bet if the track rating is worse than a soft 6. He also, I think, doesn't bet if the fields are too large. So there's something else we can perhaps go and research, and might do that if and when I finish my daughter's bathroom, which I'm just spending an inordinate amount of time in, tiling and grouting, and I'm trying to do the cornice today. And time got away from me, so I haven't got the results from last week updated, but the return on investment on the Wagon is now heading to about -9%, I think. But whatever, just sort of waffling on here a little bit, I guess, so let's just wind this up. These are selections for tomorrow, as best as I can find them, for horses that have had 4 or more race starts and have never been unplaced. Quite a number there, but there are also quite a number there that are probably too short and you won't be able to get on. This one here, for example, right down at the bottom, come on mouse, work. Well, it's not going to work. Other ones, Sun, that's very, very short. Go Wanji is also very short. I doubt you're going to get a place bet on that at a reasonable price. A couple of the other ones, though, aren't too bad. I think Rainbow Connection and Villana are actually around about $8, $9. So you're probably going to get like about $2.60, $2.70 the place if you go to Betfair and bet with them there. And so that's it for today. A little bit waffly, I'm saying. It's pretty late on Friday night here. Just putting this together so that I can upload it tomorrow morning. Do hope you enjoy your punting tomorrow, that you do have some success. And I promise that next week I'll probably spend a bit of time during the week putting together something in a little bit better detail for you. So until I catch up with you then, as I said, I hope you have some success.